Suggesting it's legal and routine does not mean this was done in the interest of national security. How do we know that? Because the FBI had already tried to close the case, saying this guy was not a national security threat. Do you understand the difference? Or are you so dopey, if you're a liberal, that you're unwilling to accept the truth? Let's go to who did the unmasking first. Now, for me, as a law enforcement or FBI official or a politician or a bureaucrat, Obama's a politician. In fact, he's the president of the United States. He's still a politician and others. For me to unmask someone's name, I have to make a request, and it leaves a paper trail, and that's created a big problem because you got to put your John Hancock on there. So Rick Grinnell declassified the list of people who, after the election of Donald Trump, but before he takes office, that critical November to January period, 2016, 2017, Rick Grinnell, our terrific acting director of national intelligence, has now put out the list of the people. Sorry, just trying to follow. This news is breaking by the minute. A list of the people. What are you laughing at? I put out a list of the people who requested the declassification of the unmasking of Mike Flynn. Let's go to the list because there are some really fascinating names. It's going to be in 3 screenshots. Big hat tip to Catherine Herridge, who broke this yesterday. These are screenshots of the documents. So page number 1 on the list. Keep in mind, these are people nobody's disputing these names are on the list. Page number 1, we got, Samantha Power. Samantha Power. Now, last time I checked, Samantha Power was the ambassador to the United Nations. What the hell is Samantha Power's name doing on this? Samantha Power is not a law enforcement or intelligence official. She's a diplomat. Why is she submitting multiple requests to unmask Mike Flynn's name and essentially read or listen to his phone calls? James Clapper, the DNI's on there? John Brennan, wow, not surprised by that. A whole bunch of other names too. Treasury individuals, people from the Treasury? What the heck? What are they doing on there? Let's go to page 2. Gets even better. Oh, there are a whole boatload of people took an interest in Mike Flynn. Here's the deuce. Got other names on there. Adam Snubble in there, Robert Bell. We have all these NATO folks in there. We have more chief of mission to NATO. The Deputy Secretary of Energy? The Deputy Elizabeth Sherwood. What the hell is the Deputy Secretary of Energy interested in wiretapping basically a call from Mike Flynn and getting his name unmasked? What do they have to do with it? But this was it. Here's the real McCoy. Let's go to page 3. Some of you probably heard about this yesterday. Look at this list. There are 2 absolute gems on this one. Oh, Dennis McDonough, Barack Obama's chief of staff. Nothing to do with intelligence or law enforcement whatsoever. The chief of staff to Obama, Dennis McDonough, key date on that, by the way. And also at the bottom, there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the bombshell of all bombshells, Joseph Biden right there at the bottom on January 12th. Now that we have the list of the deep state snakes who listened in or viewed the transcripts of Mike Flynn's phone call, potentially in violation of U.S. law if they were doing it outside of national security reasons, which is crystal clear they were. How do I know that? Because what you won't hear on a lot of cable news channels amongst really stupid talking heads who don't know any better is the FBI on January 4th had already, in their case closing document, was trying to close the case against Mike Flynn because they had, quote, no derogatory information and no other investigative methods were warranted. Their words, not mine. So why was Joe Biden on January 12th, after the FBI tried to close the case against Flynn on January 4th, what legitimate investigative purpose would Joe Biden have if the FBI didn't have one? Simple question. Please chew on that one for a moment. Anyone have an answer? So just to be clear, January 4th, 2016, the FBI is trying to close the case. They don't close it, quote, their quote, not mine, because of their own incompetence. I'm not kidding. The FBI administratively screwed up and failed to close it. That's the only reason the case against Flynn is not closed. That's their records, not mine. They screwed up administratively because Peter Strzok's a moron. He says in his own communications, gosh, thanks to our own incompetence, the thing is still open. They've uncovered at this point nothing on Flynn. They have an exact quote, no derogatory information on Flynn and no further investigative techniques are warranted. So what is Joe Biden doing 7 days later on requesting the name of Mike Flynn and requesting to look at transcripts of his calls? Of course, you won't. Nobody in the media will question this because they're Soviets. These are Pravda-like Soviets. You understand that. They're all in on tyranny now, all in. A total joke, an embarrassment, and a disgrace to humankind. So the key takeaways from this, especially about Biden, what I just said, who 7 days after the FBI closes a case with no information whatsoever indicating an investigation against Flynn is warranted, Biden seems to think so. Now, the media's talking point of this is, well, it was maybe Biden's office, maybe not Joe Biden direct. Wait. This is hilarious. So let me get this straight. Your defense here, just to be clear, is Biden is so incompetent that his office spies on innocent American citizens for no good law enforcement reason whatsoever, according to the FBI. And Biden's so incompetent, he doesn't even know what's happening in his name. It's his name on there. That's your defense? And you want this guy to be president. You want this guy to be president whose office, even if it wasn't, which I don't believe, of course Biden knew. But your defense is, no, Biden didn't know. He's so stupid. His office spies on people without him knowing. That's great. We should definitely make this guy president. What numbnuts you people are if you believe this. Are you serious? That's your defense. Well, it may have just been his office. Here's a tweet from the Washington Examiner. Here's why Biden's in a little bit of trouble, despite, again, the Pravda media's desperate efforts to cover up for this absolute buffoon. Tweet, Washington Examiner. Here's a quote by Biden. A quote. That means quotation marks for the libs. Meaning Biden said this. I know nothing about those moves to investigate Michael Flynn. I was aware that they had asked for an investigation. So all Biden saying he knows, quote, nothing about those moves to investigate Mike Flynn. Let's go to the second tweet by the Washington Examiner, why Joe Biden's in just a little bit of trouble here if you're a sane person. Sane, meaning you're not in the media. So here's another one by the Washington Examiner. Joey B, breaking. Joe Biden and other officials in the Obama administration received unmasking information on General Flynn. So ladies and gentlemen, we now know either Joe Biden is so delirious, out of it, and has no cognitive abilities whatsoever to control his own office from spying on innocent American citizens, or Joe Biden is involved in the most profound spying scandal in U.S. history. Now, again, how do we know that? Because I have to sadly correct a lot of mass misinformation that's being put out there by talking heads who are so ignorant or so malicious, they're to be ignored immediately. Either Biden's too dumb and his office is spying on people without his knowledge, or Biden's in on it.
Right.
Or Joe, there's option 3, which I've heard the gaslighting's profound today because they know Obama and Biden were the most corrupt administration in American history, and they are desperately spinning now. What I've heard today is this is routine. Even Trump makes a lot of unmasking requests. He made like 15,000. That has nothing to do with any of this. You may say, Dan, this is all about unmasking. It's not about unmasking. Unmasking stinks. It shouldn't be happening. Get a warrant, period, full stop. Having said that, it is legal. It shouldn't be, but it is. Nobody's arguing it's illegal to unmask a name, to get a transcript and ask to see the name of who the foreigner's talking to. Clear? Period, full stop. Suggesting it's legal and routine does not mean this was done in the interest of national security. How do we know that? Because the FBI had already tried to close the case saying this guy was not a national security threat. Do you understand the difference? Or are you so dopey, if you're a liberal, that you're unwilling to accept the truth?
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud and follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.